whoever needs yasking will give you a 30 seconds cue before to start.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
You can just do it over your mic if you want.
Huh?
Just do it over your mic, 30 second.
Yes.
Okay?
One minute.
Hey Adam, you got that 1 minute notice?
Okay, less than 30 seconds. For real now.
30 seconds for real. All right, there it comes.
Hello and welcome to 7 Hangar here at 15 Wing Moose Jaw, home station of the Canadian Forces Snowbirds. I am Captain Phil Rochon, Snowbirds Public Affairs Officer, and I will be your moderator for the event today. Bonjour et merci pour votre présence ici dans l'hangar 7 du 15e escadre Moose Jaw, maison mère des Snowbirds des Forces canadiennes. Je suis le capitaine Philippe Rochon, officier des affaires publiques, et je serai votre modérateur pour l'événement aujourd'hui. We'd like to acknowledge that the Moose Jaw is located within Treaty 4 territory. The original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Nous souhaitons reconnaître que Moose Jaw est situé dans le territoire visé par le traité numéro 4, qui correspond aux terres ancestrales des Cris, des Saulteaux, des Dakota, des Nakoda et des Lakota, ainsi qu'au territoire traditionnel de la nation métisse. In a few moments, the Secretary of State for Rural Development, the Honorable Buckley Belanger, will introduce the Minister of National Defence. Following that, the Honorable David McGuinty and the Commander of the Royal Canadian Air Force, Lieutenant General Jamie Spicer Blanchette, will deliver brief remarks. Dans quelques instants, le Secrétaire d'État de Développement rural, l'Honorable Buckley Belanger, présentera le ministre de la Défense nationale. Par la suite, l'Honorable David McGuinty et la commandante de l'Aviation royale canadienne, le lieutenant général Jamie Spicer Blanchette, feront des brèves. Please ensure that your cellular devices are turned off or in silent mode. Veuillez vous assurer que votre appareil portable est éteint ou en mode silence. A media question and answer session will follow the remarks, alternating between in-person and online reporters. Une séance de questions et réponses avec les médias suivra, en alternance entre les journalistes présents sur place et ceux en ligne.
I'm not sure I'm gonna.
I'm pleased to invite the Honorable Buckley Belanger, Secretary of State for Rural Development, to introduce the Minister of National Defence. Sir?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Captain Phil. Bon matin, tout le monde. Today, I have the pleasure of joining you in this very, very joyous and happy event, and of also to welcome our Minister of National Defense on his first visit to Saskatchewan since assuming this very important role. As Secretary of State for Rural Development, it's always a privilege to bring my Ottawa colleagues home to our province and share firsthand the strength and spirit of our communities. There could be no better place for that than right here at 15 Wing Moose Jaw. For decades, this base has been a cornerstone of Canada's military excellence, and we are seeing it grow. As part of the Future Aircrew Training Program, 15 Wing will welcome new aircraft and the people to support them. But the base is also an integral part of the community as well. Across rural Canada, bases like 15 Wing are far more than just another workplace. They are neighborhoods, gathering places, and hubs of local life. The members who serve here coach our kids' teams, volunteer in our local organizations, support local businesses, and build lasting roots alongside their neighbors. In Moose Jaw, we see that connection every single day. But I know I don't need to tell you that. Service members and their families live, work, and thrive in rural Canada. And the personnel of the Canadian Armed Forces are deeply connected with rural communities that support them, and vice versa. Today, my colleague, Minister McGuinty, joins us to pay tribute to an iconic Canadian institution, an iconic Moose Jaw institution. For 55 years, 15 Wing Moose Jaw has been home to the 431 Air Demonstration Squadron. This remarkable team is made up of people from communities right across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. And for over 5 decades, they've called Moose Jaw home. So my friends, please join me in giving a very warm Saskatchewan welcome to the Honorable David McGuinty, Canada's Minister of National Defence.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you, Buckley, for that kind introduction, and thank you for the strong representation you provide for the entire province of Saskatchewan. Buckley has been indispensable in bringing about today and its announcement. Very pleased to be joined by him as well as by the commander of the Canadian Air Force, who will be speaking shortly after me, Jamie Spicer-Blanchet, with a long distinguished career in the Air Force. It's really an honor to have her with me here, shoulder to shoulder. Buckley, thank you also for your long-standing support for the people of Moose Jaw, for 15 Wing, and for the women and men of the Royal Canadian Air Force. It's an honor to be here in Moose Jaw. Especially meaningful to be here at 15 Wing, a place that has shaped generations of Royal Canadian Air Force aviators and helped define Canadian aviation history. Because pilots are made in Moose Jaw. That is what this community does. For generations, Canadians have come here to earn their wings, to prove themselves, to push their limits, and to join one of the finest air forces in the world. Since the Second World War, Moose Jaw has stood at the center of military aviation in our country. From the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan to the Cold War to today, this has been a place of excellence. Un lieu où se façonnent l'habileté, la discipline et le courage. Et si Moose Jaw forme des aviateurs d'exception pour l'aviation royale canadienne, elle joue aussi un rôle bien plus large. Moose Jaw a contribué à bâtir l'une des plus grandes traditions de l'aviation canadienne. Le Canada est fier d'un héritage remarquable d'équipes militaires de voltige aérienne qui, depuis des générations, inspirent la population et illustrent au monde entier le professionnalisme de l'aviation royale canadienne. Before the Snowbirds were founded in 1971, there were the Siskins, the Blue Devils, the Skylancers, the Golden Hawks, and the Golden Centenaires. Each team reflected something uniquely Canadian: precision, discipline, teamwork, and excellence under pressure. And each generation helped inspire the next. That proud legacy continues today through the Snowbirds. For 55 years, the Snowbirds have represented Canada and the Royal Canadian Air Force and with pride. The sound of their engines and the trails of the white plumes of smoke behind them have become part of our national story. They are Canadian icons. They are Canadian icons. They are the pride of Saskatchewan. And for millions of Canadians, they represent cherished memories. Canadians remember watching the Snowbirds as children. They remember looking up at the sky with awe. They remember seeing them and seeing something that made them proud of this country. Something that matters. Parce que si nous voulons demeurer un pays de bâtisseurs, d'innovateurs, d'explorateurs et d'esprits audacieux, nous avons besoin de symboles nationaux qui donnent envie de viser plus haut. Depuis plus d'un demi-siècle, les Snowbirds incarnent exactement cela. Mais les Snowbirds, ce ne sont pas que des avions, ce sont des femmes et des hommes. Et Moose Jaw ne forme pas seulement des pilotes d'exception, elles forment des êtres humains d'exception. That's why the bond between this city and the Snowbirds is so deep. The Snowbirds are woven into the identity of Moose Jaw, and Moose Jaw is woven into the identity of the Snowbirds. This community built them. This community supports them. And this community shares them with the rest of Canada and the rest of the world. And that's why today's announcement is so very important. Today our government is announcing we will procure the CT-157 Siskin II, the Pilatus PC-21, the future aircraft for the Snowbirds. It too will serve as both a trainer and air demonstration aircraft. The fact we are selecting will also be used as our future training aircraft, just as the Tutor was when it was originally selected, will allow us to accelerate procurement, create a larger pool of pilots to be able to fly in the Snowbirds, and ensure that we do not end up operating an orphan fleet of aircraft. Aujourd'hui, notre gouvernement annonce que le ministère de la Défense nationale fera l'acquisition du CT-157 Siskin II, le Pilatus PC-21, qui deviendra le futur appareil des Snowbirds. Cet avion assumera lui aussi un double rôle. Il servira à la fois à l'entraînement et aux démonstrations aériennes. Le fait que l'appareil retenu serve également à la formation de nos futurs pilotes, comme c'était le cas du Tutor lors de sa sélection initiale, nous permettra d'accélérer le processus d'acquisition, d'élargir le bassin de pilotes qualifiés pour voler avec les Snowbirds et d'éviter l'exploitation d'une flotte orpheline. Based right here at 15 Wing Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, where it belongs. Ability will allow Canada to continue its proud tradition of air demonstration with a modern aircraft fleet that will ultimately reach iconic 9-plane formation. After more than 6 decades of service as both a trainer and demonstration aircraft, 2026 will mark the final season of the CT-114 Tutor aircraft fleet. And as Canadians gather over the next year to watch the Tutors fly one final time, we will also celebrate the generations of pilots, technicians, engineers, and support personnel who made the Snowbirds one of the most respected air teams in the world. The Royal Canadian Air Force is incredibly proud of the women and men who have represented the Canadian Air Force with professionalism and pride at air shows across North America for decades. And today's announcement ensures continue for generations to come. Over the decades, the Snowbirds have performed more than 2,700 air displays for over 140, covering countless kilometers across North America. Their legacy continues to inspire Canadians from coast to coast. It's about preserving a proud Canadian tradition, but it's also about preparing for the future. It's about investing in this community and in the future of Canadian aerospace and aviation training. Through the Future Aircraft Training Program, Canada is making one of the most significant investments in military aviation training in history. The program represents more than $9.4 billion in long-term investment and will modernize how the next generation of Royal Canadian Air Force personnel are trained. And Moose Jaw is poised to benefit from a multi-billion-dollar investment through this program, one that will strengthen the local economy, support long-term job creation, and reinforce this community's central role in Canadian military aviation. Over its 25-year lifespan, the FACT program is expected to support approximately 3,400 jobs and generate nearly $10 billion in economic benefits across the prairies. We've seen nothing like this before. Right here in Moose Jaw, planned infrastructure investments are estimated at more than $1 billion. That includes major upgrades, modernization projects, from rebuilding runway infrastructure to replacing the fire hall to investing in the facilities and systems that support the people who serve here every day. And because supporting our personnel also means supporting their families, we're continuing Phase 2 of the National Housing Strategy at 15 Wing. through the construction of 24 new residential housing units. A unit can comprise more than one actual lodging. Those investments will support highly skilled jobs, strengthen Saskatchewan's aerospace sector, reinforce Moose Jaw's role as one of the most important military aviation communities in Canada. Parce que cette base ne fait pas seulement partie de notre histoire, elle fait aussi partie de notre avenir. Le monde devient plus dangereux, divisé. Le Canada modernise et rebâtit les capacités des forces armées canadiennes afin que notre personnel dispose des outils nécessaires pour défendre notre souveraineté, protéger l'Amérique du Nord et soutenir nos alliés partout dans le monde. Cela passe notamment par des investissements dans la prochaine génération de formation des équipages aériens. As Canada transitions to this new fleet, the Royal Canadian Air Force will continue supporting air shows, events, and engagements across Canada, connecting with communities, inspiring young Canadians, and encouraging the next generation to serve. Because when Canadians see the Snowbirds flying overhead in the years ahead, they should know something important. They're seeing the result of generations of excellence that began right here in Moose Jaw. This community has helped inspire tens of millions, and together we're going to ensure that mission continues. So to everyone at 15 Wing, to the members of the Royal Canadian Air Force, to the Snowbirds team, and to the people of Moose Jaw, thank you. Thank you for what you have built. Thank you for what you continue to represent. And thank you for continuing to inspire this country every time those aircraft take to the skies. The Snowbirds are Canada, and Canada is proud of the Snowbirds. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. Good day, everyone. Today marks a profound moment for the Royal Canadian Air Force, for 431 Air Demonstration Squadron, for the Snowbirds, past and present, and for the Canadians across the country. For 55 extraordinary years, the Snowbirds Air Demonstration Team has delivered excellence in the skies and on the ground as ambassadors of the Royal Canadian Air Force. They have inspired generations of Canadians, have sparked dreams in young people who have watched precision, teamwork, and professionalism painted against a blue Canadian sky. I had the privilege of flying the Tutor many years ago when it was here for training, so I have extremely fond memories, not only of Moose Jaw and the Tutor, but I have always admired the Snowbird team and have always remained inspired by what they do. C'est avec ce profond sens de l'histoire et de la responsabilité que je fais écho aux propos du ministre. La flotte de CT-114 Tutor sera retirée du service après 63 années d'opération et le 431e escadron de démonstration aérienne de Snowbirds sera temporairement mis en pause à l'issue de la saison de démonstration 2026. It is with that deep sense of history and responsibility that I echo the Minister's remarks. The CT-114 Tutor fleet will retire after 63 years of operation, and 431 Air Demonstration Squadron, the Snowbirds, will be temporarily stood down following the conclusion of the 2026 show season. This is a significant moment, and it is an emotional one because of the extraordinary connection that this team has built with Canadians over more than 5.5 decades. This decision was not taken lightly. The Royal Canadian Air Force is modernizing at a pace and scale not seen since the Second World War. This transformation is essential to ensure we are ready to defend Canada's sovereignty and remain a trusted, capable, and credible partner in an increasingly complex and contested global environment, one that is defined by rapid advances in technology, from cyber and space capabilities to data-driven and network systems. It requires us to move beyond legacy capabilities and invest in a future force that is fully integrated, resilient, and adaptable to the demands of the future. But transformation of this magnitude is not only about platforms and systems. It is fundamentally about people. Our strength lies in our aviators, our civilians, and our families who serve alongside them. As we navigate this period of change, for 431 Squadron members and across the Royal Canadian Air Force, we must lead with clarity, empathy, and purpose, ensuring every member understands their role, feels valued for their contributions, and is supported as they adapt and grow. While this marks the end of one chapter, it also opens the door to what comes next. Dans les années à venir, nous prendrons le temps de reconstruire cette équipe de manière réfléchie, en intégrant les nouveaux aéronefs. Nous réussirons, comme l'aviation royale canadienne l'a toujours fait avec ses équipes de démonstration. The beginning of a new chapter. Thank you.
We'll take a brief pause so that journalists can bring their mics forward if required.
Get in there, lads. Let's go.
We will now proceed to our Q&A period. For those present in the hangar, please make your way to the front left. Captain Doyon will have the microphone. For those joining online, please use your raise hand function. And we ask that you state your name, organization before posing your question and limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Nous allons maintenant passer à la période de questions-réponses. Pour les personnes présentes dans l'hangar, veuillez vous diriger vers le microphone tenu par Capitaine Doyon, situé à l'avant-gauche de l'allée centrale. Pour les participants en ligne, veuillez lever votre main virtuelle. Nous vous demandons d'indiquer votre nom et votre organisation avant de poser votre question et de vous limiter à une question et une question complémentaire. On commencera en salle.
Great. For Mr. McGuinty, Graham Richardson, CTV. Minister, you mentioned safety in the House of Commons when you were asked about this. How much is safety of the tutors driving this decision and have to follow up?
Well, look, we're obviously, we've been working on this for some time, Graham. In fact, I started working on the question of the Snowbirds when I began as minister a year ago. And so what we've been doing is working hand in glove with the Air Force, the head of the command of the Air Force, working hand in glove, and we have every assurance that the fleet is well positioned to serve for another season, and that at that point the decision was made on the recommendation of the Air Force that we would transition to a new fleet. And that's why we're so proud to be here today to announce that we're acquiring a new fleet, and we're acquiring that fleet directly. This is not a long 3 or 4 or 5 year process of procurement. We know what aircraft we're going to be procuring. We're moving quickly to do so, and we'll obtain them as quickly as we can.
Follow up on that though, you don't say when they'll fly again in your news release, and you say the 2030s at some point. So how long will it be until the Snowbirds fly again post-26?
Well, we're moving as quickly as we can. That's our plan. We are, as I say, we have down selected to 1 aircraft. And so those negotiations are underway with the manufacturer, and we intend to procure those aircraft as quickly as we possibly can. But we need to work with the manufacturer. We need to make sure that we receive them in graduated form. It will take some time for them to roll off the production line, but we're moving as quickly as we possibly can.
Hi there, Minister. Julia Wong, CBC News. Your timeline for the Snowbird operational pause coincides with the introduction of the F-35 and comes amid a pilot shortage. Is this all about the pilot shortage and your inability to address it? And in 2021, allocated $30 million to extend the lifespan of the aging CT-114 Tutor jets until 2030. What happened with that, and why can't the jets keep flying?
First of all, the question of pilots. The really good news is that overall, year over year, applications to join the Canadian Armed Forces are up 61% from last year. The other good piece of news is that we've actually admitted 13% more folks into basic training than a previous year. Recruitment is going up, it seems, month by month. We have every confidence that the Air Force will do what it has to do to be able to recruit and retain trainees to become pilots. This is something that we're addressing directly. We addressed it directly in the first big measure that we brought to bear in the country after announcing the 2% target. The first thing we did was announce the single largest pay increase for the Canadian Armed Forces since 1997. So in that, of course, there are also specific benefits for training, technical skills, and we in the past, of course, had already addressed the question of pilot salaries and benefits. So we are now convinced that as we continue to recruit and retain, we're going to move forward. We're going to have the pilots that we do need, and we've got sufficient pilots now. We've got an incredible group of pilots here on this base, this wing, and it is something that we're going to be continuing to work on as we rebuild, we rearm and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces. You know, I've been around public life now for 22 years as a member of Parliament. I have never seen in any field at any time in 22 years. The level of investment that we're making in a single sector, in this case it's defense. It's very encouraging, it's very exciting, and I think it's also very hopeful for our future as we look to maintain our security and our sovereignty. On the question of the timing and the investments in the aircraft that were booked, I'm going to ask the Commander of the Air Force to address that. I know she's been acting responsibly on all of this, but she has more detail.
Thank you, Minister. So on the question of personnel shortage, the Minister has accurately stated the recruitment and enrollment numbers are increasing, and we are seeing a positive trend in the Royal Canadian Air Force. There is still a shortage overall of personnel. However, we are absolutely reversing that trend and making many gains, both in the attraction, recruiting, and in the retention of personnel. Within the pilot occupation, the fighter force is the most affected at the moment. In terms of pilots, the other fleets are actually regaining health in the pilot trade, and we're working actively on other more stressed trades now, including some of the aircraft technicians, telecommunications information systems technicians, sensor operators. So we have a very dedicated RCF attractions team that is working on several fronts as we continue to address the shortages of personnel as we focus on our modernization efforts. Oh.
Sir, next question is online.
I think there was still one question that we hadn't answered about the modernization.
Yes, if you could respond to the question about the $30 million that had been allocated to extend the lifespan, what happened with that money, and perhaps the Minister as well.
So there have been several projects that have worked to increase and extend the life of the Tutor aircraft over many years. So there was one in 2005, 2010, and then a more recent one in 2020. The more recent one was for a cockpit upgrade and has resulted in 11 of the Tutors currently have new upgraded modernized cockpits, and there are still some that are delivering. In the original plans, there was work that was underway to extend the life to 2030. However, some of the airframe, engine, and escape system programs, feasibility studies were done, and there are some engineering challenges because of the age of the aircraft that have changed that situation, and this is why it will be retiring in 2027 instead of 2030.
Our next question comes from Skies Magazine and Forrest online. Ms. Forrest, can you please unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yes, thank you. How many Siskin aircraft are being procured for the Snowbirds?
That's the question, sorry? How many?
Yes, that's the question.
That remains to be determined. We'll be working through those details with the Air Force. And our ability to procure, of course, as I said earlier in my remarks, has been accelerated. That's one of the reasons why we created the Defense Investment Agency, to streamline and to make more efficient procurement of this kind. It's a little bit like, as we have done with the submarine fleet that we're procuring. The normal process would have taken 3 years to down select from 5 to 2, and that was done in less than 6 months. We're moving forward. We're moving forward with conviction, with speed, responsibly and efficiently, so we'll have more to say about the number of aircraft being procured in due course.
Okay, and sorry, just to clarify, the aerobatic team, will it continue to be known as the Snowbirds, and will it continue to be stationed in 15 Wing?
The plan is to continue to call the fleet Snowbirds, and the plan is, of course, yes, to keep the fleet here in Moose Jaw, where we believe the fleet belongs. The women and men behind me are the experts. They have invested in this fleet. It's a huge part of Canadian society, in my view. It's an iconic representation. It is something that we cherish. Our kids remember. I remember as a child seeing the Snowbirds, and then I remembered I didn't have the engineering ability to become a pilot. The point is, this is where the Snowbirds are, and this is where the Snowbirds belong, and this is where the Snowbirds will stay.
Lisa Shakewood, 980 CJM. I'm just looking for a bit of clarity when it comes to what the Snowbird pilot. I think there was some talk about them possibly doing other kinds of shows. If you could just clarify that, please.
I'll ask the commander in a second. My understanding is the plan is that everyone who is here, presently engaged, will be deployed, will continue with their work, and will help to lay ground for a new and massive pilot training initiative in this country that I spoke about in my remarks, the FACT plan, which is a multi-billion-dollar investment in our future aircraft and pilot capacity. It's important for Canadians to remember we've got dozens and dozens of aircraft on order, radar, of course a fighter fleet, other types of aircraft, this new Pilatus acquisition. So we're actively implementing a plan to rebuild, rearm, and to strengthen the Canadian Air Force. That's exactly what today is all about.
Thank you. So now that the decision is made and the announcement is official, work will be done in terms of developing the plan after this show season. So the team and the squadron are going to focus on the 55th year and the amazing season that is ahead. And then after that, the plans for the temporary drawdown of the squadron will take place. It will happen over time, so we don't have a specific list of activities at this point in time. However, the squadron members will all eventually be reassigned to other roles. Though I'll note it's very important, and I've spoken with the members to ensure that we preserve their experience and their knowledge for the time that comes when the new aircraft is ready to take on the role.
Our next question comes from Ryan Kennedy online from Flight Global. Mr. Kennedy, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, General. Nice to speak with you again. My question is, does this development impact any of the plans that I know you're currently developing a plan to bring on a jet trainer to work with the new fighter aircraft, whatever decision you make on that? Does this development impact that at all? Can you provide any kind of update on how you're thinking about that new trainer aircraft? Thank you.
Yeah, the answer to that question directly is no. It will not have a bearing on other plans. I think it's important for Canadians to understand the level of commitment this government has to getting this done. We're moving at a speed and a breadth, a depth of investment that we've never seen before in the Air Force, in the Navy, in the Army, and we're driving this forward. We're going to retain and we're going to recruit the folks that we need. We've increased pay so we can frankly treat our members of the Canadian Armed Forces with respect. We are rebuilding much of what speaks to their quality of life, their health care, their water, wastewater, infrastructure, housing, education, training systems. Pay systems are being rebooted. Wi-Fi is being brought to the bases across the country. Overseas rotations are happening with more efficiency in and out of Latvia and our forward operating location there. We are moving at a pace here that is, frankly, to be candid, breathtaking. And so this will not have a bearing on the investments we're making in other parts of the Air Force. And we don't intend to have it have any bearing on other parts of the Canadian Armed Forces. We're moving forward with a plan. We're executing on it. We've laid track. And I think that with the continuing support of the Canadian people who are with us, they understand we need to do this and we need to do it in a timely way.
Good morning, Minister. Alia Marco. And could you please answer in both English and French for me? I just want to know how will the U.S. decision to suspend the Joint Defense Board affect NORAD modernization? Will it slow down the coordination to implementing joint projects? And how will this affect Canadian purchases of U.S. military equipment, such as the F-35?
You're referring to the panel? I see, okay. Look, it's important for Canadians to remember and understand The first major announcement we made as a government was to achieve a 2% GDP spend by March 31st. That's 5 years ahead of schedule. We've done that. Then, as I mentioned, the next big decision was to make sure that our Canadian Armed Forces personnel were properly paid, compensated, with specific incentives for instructors, for retention bonuses on year in, year out basis, for example. So we've done that. We're moving forward on executing a plan here in Canada. We're a sovereign state. We're investing $63 billion and $87 billion over 20 years to modernize NORAD. We've already announced and we're implementing a $6.7 billion project for Arctic over-the-horizon radar, working with our Australian counterparts. We're upgrading our NORAD forward operating locations, $40 billion going into the Arctic. We launched a defense industrial strategy, $500 billion in investment over the next decade. We're accelerating our path to meeting the 3.5% on core defense spending and 1.5% of GDP spending on defense and security-related investments, as the Prime Minister has indicated. We're moving forward to acquire a whole new fleet of 15 River-class destroyers. We've launched the project to acquire 12 under-ice capable submarines, and we've done that very quickly. We're buying an airborne early warning and control project system to equip the CAF to detect and respond to long-range threats to Canada and North America. We have the largest operation in terms of Nanook exercises last year in conjunction with the United States, with Belgium, France, and Denmark. We're moving forward. We have a plan, and we're moving forward, and we're executing on the plan. Donc, tout ça pour dire, on a un plan au Canada, nous sommes un pays souverain, et nous agissons comme un pays souverain. Nous continuons à faire les investissements nécessaires, indispensables à notre sécurité et notre souveraineté. C'est exactement ce que nous avons décidé de faire il y a 1 an. Nous avons annoncé l'échéance d'atteindre 2% du PIB vers le 31 mars. Et nous l'avons fait. Nous avons procédé immédiatement avec une hausse de salaire du jamais vu depuis 1997 au Canada. Et nous continuons à faire ces investissements de façon stratégique et nous suivons un plan avec discipline. La décision aujourd'hui fait partie de ce plan. On travaille dessus depuis au moins 12 mois. Donc, la situation pour nous, c'est une question d'avancer. It's to make progress, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Prochaine question de Pascal Vachon, animateur de TRO. Monsieur Vachon, vous avez posé votre question.
C'est pas sur l'annonce d'aujourd'hui, je vais vous questionner sur le collège militaire royal à Kingston. Je ne sais pas si vous avez vu passer dans les derniers jours, mais il y a eu une annonce que l'administration passerait d'une unité bilingue à une langue anglophone. Ça a été envoyé par l'administration du collège. Je ne sais pas si vous avez vu cette nouvelle-là. Puis est-ce que vous trouvez que ça reflète peut-être les valeurs de l'armée canadienne, la décision prise par le collège?
Je vais être très honnête avec vous, je ne suis pas au courant de cette proposition. Et comme chancelier de l'université, je peux vous assurer que le collège et le système d'éducation est un système bilingue au Canada pour les forces armées canadiennes. Et donc, c'est quelque chose dont vous me révélez, mais c'est une question, selon moi, qui n'a pas de sens. Pardon, quel est le montant
fédéral pour ce renouvellement ici?
Ici pour le remplacement des avions? Je peux vous assurer que c'est un montant suffisant pour acheter les avions nécessaires, pour faire certain que non seulement on a une flotte qui peut servir comme avion pour les Snowbirds, mais aussi on combine évidemment double utilisation et la question de formation de nos pilotes. Donc on procède avec une vitesse, les négociations sont en marche avec le manufacturier en Suisse, et donc il y aura assez d'argent pour obtenir les avions nécessaires. C'est difficile à dire parce qu'on est en pleine négociation.
Dave Patterson, Canadian Press. A question for both the Minister and Lieutenant General. Just wondering what the implications are for the facility here. Is there still be training? How's this going to affect Moose Jaw? Things like that. Just a bit of implications for this decision this fall to kind of delay.
I think the implication is pretty clear for us, which is we're committed to Moose Jaw. This is an indispensable part as a wing of the 33 wings and bases across the country. It will continue to play a leading role in the Air Force. It will play a leading role in the training, mentoring of pilots, of aircraft technicians who come in and come out, train, begin here, move on to another location, come back. This really does indicate, I think, for us that this is a priority area. And I mentioned some of the investments we're making to prepare for the future. There will be infrastructure investments here, housing investments, water and wastewater systems, extensions of runways, housing, some buildings. All of this is now being executed in terms of the plan through our real property division in the department and working with the Canadian Armed Forces and the commander here. This is I think, a very good day for Moose Jaw and a very good day for the wing here, because it illustrates that we are aware of the importance of investing here in Moose Jaw, and for that matter, the importance of investing in Saskatchewan. One of the things I did when I became the minister was ask for a full accounting of the investments that the Canadian Armed Forces are making in each and every province and territory in Canada. And it turns out the Canadian Armed Forces and DND are pretty big investors in the Canadian economy, Canadian society. And when we talk about these investments locally here, we're also talking about jobs. We're talking about HVAC jobs, tool and die, steelwork, carpeting, millwrights. We're talking about concrete. We're talking about air conditioning. We're talking about drywall and framing. We're talking about thousands of jobs that have a bearing right here in Moose Jaw, as we see with the investments we just announced in Trenton, for example, as we expand the base, the wing there. So increasingly, we have made strategic decisions to make sure we have the operational capacities we need, but also reminding people here in Moose Jaw and across the country that the national defense spend, the Canadian Armed Forces spend, is a major economic generator for Canada. And that's one of the reasons why we launched the Defense Industrial Strategy as well, to give rise to an expanded industrial base in our companies that are involved in the manufacturing, in the research and development of defense industrial material and know-how. We're continuing to drive that forward.
Just a quick clarification, is there going to be any change of color? Is it going to be the kind of traditional classic red, blue, white?
That's very much to be determined. We'll see how that works, but one thing at a time. Let's get the aircraft. Let's rely on this incredible, disciplined, dedicated team standing here today, and let's move forward and give Canadians the continuing Snowbird fleet that they desire and deserve.
Just one quick one, Commander. Your final show will be in the United States this year, if I read the schedule correct. Is that going to change?
It could.
It could change?
We're looking at that now. So we are looking at that now, so it could change.
You may add, I would assume, a Canadian show to finish, maybe?
Ideally, yes. And we always have the season closing show here in Moose Jaw. So we'll make sure that we celebrate appropriately.
This is the end of the question period. Ceci est la fin de la période de questions.
That concludes today's announcement. Thank you all for joining us today. Cela conclut l'annonce aujourd'hui. Merci à tous de vous être joints avec nous. Bonne journée.